Hello and welcome along to the F1 Esports Pro Series qualifying show presented by Aramco. It's the final show of the season. We have the drivers and the teams championships to be decided tonight. And we have Interlagos qualifying coming up for you very shortly. But before we do that, we've got no Christmas jumpers on, but I've got two very merry men sat on the sofas. It's Mr. Nick Hamilton and Mr. Tom Deacon. Nick, it's the final show, mate. Have you brought your tissues? Because I could cry.
Already, hey?
It's flown.
It's gone so fast. And obviously, I'm new to the panel.
You're not new.
This is a new thing for me. I'm sad that it's the end. But hopefully, you guys have me back.
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
Tom as
he hasn't
well.
heard the news. Well held there, Matt, on whether he's got this extension. That happened to me last year.
I know it scarred you, didn't it, when Sean Bratches said...
he pulled that out of nowhere. He says, well, you might not be back next year. Put the hand on my shoulder. And then everyone
When that
laughed.
was allowed?
When it was allowed. No, I'm super excited to be back here alongside Nick and yourself to get ready for the qualifiers, which have proved so impactful on the standings and all of the results throughout the whole season this year.
And this is going to be probably the most impactful. Of course, we've got both championships to be decided. The drivers definitely a lot closer than the teams, but anything can happen, especially around Brazil. Brazil is such a short track. We've seen so many amazing races, both in real life and in the virtual GPs, for example. Charles Leclerc versus Alex Albon, they were going wheel to wheel for 20 to 25 laps, it felt like. So Brazil, Nick, I know it's cliche, anything can happen, but genuinely, we could see some shocks in the quali show today.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to take you guys back to 2007, 2008.
Hello. Come on then.
How amazing was it?
It's that Glock.
In terms of, with the Glock situation in 2008, the situation in 2007 where Lewis didn't win the title because of a glitch, gearbox problem, and then 2008 with the rain, it raining on one side of the circuit, dry on the other side of the circuit, and I think Glock lost like 11 seconds, 15 seconds in one lap. But yeah, anything can happen around this circuit. But it's a short run, or a short lap, should I say. So every corner really counts, and you could lose half a tenth on exit, and that could be the difference between first and P5.
It could, yeah.
I've not been to Interlagos. I've not been there. Been to Sao Paulo. The people are incredibly passionate. That was for the FIFA World Cup back in 2014. So I know that the track is historic. It's had those moments that I was actually doing a bit of travelling backwards in time, Matt, when Nick said about 2007, 2008, which was silly, but got caught on the camera. I think that maybe this could return to form for David Tonitzzi. He got pole last time in 2019. So can that be a repeat after the disappointment of Mexico, which I know we'll get to in the show, but hopefully he can perform again.
Yeah, before we get into that, let's take a look at what happened yesterday and Japan highlights. So here we go. The start of the race. This one was, well, Nicolas Longuet had a great start off the front of the grid, beating Freddie Rasmussen down towards turn one, Nick. But it turned out that it was all very much a waiting game, as we'll see as these highlights progress. But Rasmussen kept his cool, relaxed, sat behind Longuet, didn't lose any more positions, and was really in control. Yeah,
it was almost like he put Longuet into a false sense of security. Almost, no, you go first. You use your battery. You think you're going to win this. I've got it all under control behind you. And yeah, didn't he judge it perfectly and take the victory, which is exactly what he needed at the time for his championship chances. This is Marcel Kiefer going past Tonitz, I believe.
Yeah, Tonitz, so he was on an aggressive strategy, wasn't he? He tried to go for a really aggressive undercut onto the mediums, didn't get track position, and then unfortunately just fell back a little bit as the race progressed. There's Jarno Wotmir, who was on the soft tyres towards the end, his favoured strategy that we've seen for a lot of this season, going past Bianca Lila there up to P6. But Jarno, he was a little bit off sorts in qualifying, put himself P6, which we're not really used to, are we? And it didn't put him in a position to really challenge the three in front, which was Longuet, Rasmussen and Daniele Haddad, who just joined the scene, didn't he?
Hello, welcome to the party, Daniele. Yeah, it was interesting because he also overtook, this is Jarno Wotmir, overtook Joni Tormala, so both AlphaTauris, and going for that alternate strategy that we love to see him, and it's so aggressive. However, watching here, Rasmussen finally overtake Nicolas Longuet. And if anyone you do not want to apply the pressure from behind you is Freddie Rasmussen, because he gets the job done, and it was a great race from him.
He's so calm, so calm. And Marcel Kiefer, he was a little bit off the boil yesterday, I think it's fair to say. He's usually with Rasmussen the whole time, holding behind, almost being a rear gunner, but just a little bit off sorts. Obviously got that grid penalty as well.
I think that rocked him. I genuinely think because he's never had a pole position, and I think he was excited to have that. Maybe that knocked his confidence again. But still, look, 5th, and it's all about that team championship and getting points on the board.
Absolutely. There is the race classification. So Rasmussen from Longuet Haddad. That was crucial for Racing Point to try and get themselves off the bottom of the team's championship. They're going to be quite disappointed with this season's performance, but Haddad, great performance there. Otmir managing to get back up to P4. Daniel Beresnay, we were speaking about him finishing P9 in that race, and this is where it just started to continue to creep away, the team's championship for Alfa Romeo, who looked so strong at the start of the season, but then Red Bull just came into their own with some strategic masterclasses.
Yeah, they've been so strong all year, haven't they? Been working really well as a team, both Kiefer and Rasmussen. As you said, Kiefer's been a rear gunner for Rasmussen a lot of the time, working together very, very well. But as you'll see coming into Mexico, when we have a look at the highlights, you know, Danny Beresnay actually put himself in the mix, didn't he, at qualifying, and was able to help Jarno Otmir maybe take a few points away from Red Bull. So yeah, he was sort of coming back to him. But Danny will be a little bit upset by his season so far. He knows he's got a little bit more to give and show, but there's always next year.
Well, Nick, I absolutely love you being on this sofa because you've brilliantly segued into Mexico highlights. So let's take a look at what happened. 25 laps around the Mexico City circuit, and it was a bit of carnage, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, this track isn't known for its amazing racing, but it was so close, and Tanitsa here getting pinched between Rasmussen and Otmir. He'll be regretting that. He was then out of the race on lap 1, and it's a season to forget for Tanitsa for sure, but I'm sure he'll be back stronger next year. A lot of learnings, I'd say, for David Tanitsa this year. And then we had the very strange situation, Nick, didn't we, where we haven't seen this before, where the leaders have caught up to drivers that haven't pit yet, and that caused a big train.
Yeah, and this was really interesting because it was who could get past the traffic as fast as possible, because it could be really detrimental to their race. But you can see Rasmussen going through the traffic as fast as he could. This is Otmir coming into the pits, and he actually came out in some issues initially, but did really well to get through. And he had to then overtake the likes of Brendan Lee, which he just done there, using good slipstream and using the overtake.
Yeah, it was crucial. I think Otmir got past Lee and Kiefer within a few
in one lap.
corners.
Yeah, it was in one lap.
Went a little bit deep into turn 1, and that allowed Otmir to get a fantastic run on Kiefer here, and that was crucial for him to really mount a challenge with Rasmussen ahead, who was filtering through the slower cars ahead, but did pick up damage, which we heard during the broadcast over team radio. And here is Otmir, goes straight past Rasmussen, who didn't offer any kind of defence. I think he knew that the move was done, and he was trying to put a bit of damage limitation at that point, wouldn't you say, Tom?
Yeah, you've just got to collect the points, just keep it steady. If you're not going to get the win, make sure you're not causing a situation where you're going to spin out. We'd already seen it with Tanitsa, and that would have been incredibly frustrating for the Red Bull team as a whole. So look, keep it safe, get the points on the board, play for that team championship. But Brendan Lee, who we're hopefully seeing at some point soon, just doing a fantastic job of going up through the pack and showing how much potential he has.
Too right now. So Brendan Lee almost lost his front wing on the back of Freddie Rasmussen around that final corner. Freddie so slow, and this is probably the first time I've seen Freddie go for a proper aggressive defensive move. But Brendan Lee just had the overspeed on him and managed to get up to P2. Great to see the two-time champ back where he belongs, and Jarno Otmir taking a pretty convincing victory by the end there, Nick.
Yeah, he did a really good job, didn't he? I think what's really interesting is I think Red Bull went from the hot seat, the pound seat, to sort of throwing that opportunity away of taking the championship.
Yeah,
so it goes on to so it goes on to today.
Yeah. For us as spectators, brilliant. Thanks, Red Bull, for having a mediocre race. But P3 and 6, as I mentioned, for the Red Bull team. Jarno Otmir finishing first at a lot of points during that race. The Red Bull team had wrapped up the team's championship, and Freddie Rasmussen was potentially going to be within 1 point of Otmir. How it all changed, 16 points now, Otmir clear of Rasmussen. So we have still got a battle on our hands. We have got Brazil coming up, where it's going to be very difficult to basically 3 qualifying sessions, as we've seen. The format, we'll take a look at that in a second. But in terms of the pressure on them at the moment, especially for Otmar, he's never been in this position before. How is he going to manage that all around Brazil, where one small mistake and you could be out in Q1?
Yeah, completely. I think qualifying is going to be the most important. It's been all year, I would say, because there's not really that many opportunities to overtake around Interlagos, even though it's a fantastic circuit. So yeah, Otmar has it all to lose, like I said yesterday. But he held his head very well and kept pushing forward and made sure he got really good points. But I think he's going to do it. I really do have belief in him. He seems like he's got the bit between his teeth. He's really consistent. So I think he'll be fine today.
Awesome stuff. Let's take a look at the Drivers' Championship standings now and how it all stacks up going into the final race of the season. And as I mentioned, Otmar 16 points ahead of Freddie Rasmussen. Marcel Kiefer out of the fight for the victory in the Drivers' Championship, but it's all to play for. Tom, I know you have your virtual Haas drum that you love to bang in this quali show, but I'm going to talk to you about Otmar versus Rasmussen.
I wasn't going to bang the drum today, I've been told.
Rubbish.
I've been told.
What would you go for? Otmar or Rasmussen? Of course, advantage Otmar, but Rasmussen is a cool character.
I think it's too early to call, as Nick
Brilliant.
Hamilton
I
has...
asked you for a prediction, and you just go, I'm going to stand on the fence.
I think Nick speaks so astutely that actually it comes down to qualification. If it's going to be difficult to overtake, it's all about that grid position when we go into the actual race. Jarno Otmar has got the confidence. I think he's going to be all right. He's going to do enough to hold on to that 16-point lead. So I'm going to go with Jarno Otmar. But if he was to spin out, I mean, I'd be devastated. It'd be chaos. And Freddie Rasmussen, a man who is all about the team, would get the title. And it's down to personality. Who do I want to win more?
Well, Brazil have seen so many chaotic races. As you mentioned, Vettel spun out, and we thought he was out when he was challenged for the title. I don't remember what year, but a few years ago. One of his 4 championships that he won. But he spun out. We thought he was out, and he ended up winning the title. I think that was against Alonso. But either way, let's take a look at the team's championship standings now. And this one is very interesting indeed. P1 and 2 is, well, Red Bull would have to have a bit of a shocker, wouldn't they, in this final race? But when you look at P3, it's still, I'm not going to use the term, maybe I am, all to play for. I did. But Renault, Mercedes and FDA Hublot all could get P3 in the Constructors' Teams Championship. And that's a lot of money, Nick. So there are a few storylines that we need to watch out for, both in this quali show and in the race later.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's going to be really exciting, especially after Brendan Lee's performance yesterday. I think he did a really, really good job. And what a shame for Janssen for not finishing his race in...
Tom, I feel like you've got some info on that.
Yeah, actually I messaged Casper because he seemed incredibly disappointed. The qualification, he said, I've let myself down here. The pressure was so intense. I don't think once you are in the F1 Esports Pro Series for the first time, first race, a lot of pressure on you. He let it slip, then got into the race. He was going through that train, moving on up, and unfortunately, with the game and an incident that happened, he slips out. So I'm really disappointed for him, but take nothing away from him. He's done incredibly well to get here. Hopefully he gets to show what he's made of next year.
Yeah, he was looking really strong, and unfortunately it steered him into the wall, which has completely nothing to do with him.
Yeah.
He came out on Twitter and said that, but either way, speaking of Twitter, let's go to social media roundup right now and a few tweets. This one is a great picture of Gunther Steiner, it has to be said, and he'll join our esports team, that is Haas of course, for the final rounds of the Pro Series this week. Great to see Gunther looking so happy to be part of this F1 Esports Pro Series show. Of course, CRG Simon and CRG Evo, the 2 guys that will be representing Haas. Simon Weigang being the one that's really carried the ship, carried your favourite team, Tom.
Yeah, and you saw for the Team Championship how close it is at the bottom. Racing Point at the bottom at the moment. You've got Williams just above Haas and AlphaTauri. Any one of those could finish bottom.
Yeah, and you don't want to be finishing last, do you?
No.
Here we got Visor I love F1 Esports. It's so close and so racy. When was the last time we saw drivers and teams championships go down to the last race in real life? I don't know. 2016 would have probably been the drivers, and then maybe 2012. I can't really remember. But either way, it's been a long time, hasn't it? So that's, thank you, it's Visor. And we've got one more from George Morgan at CRG Geo. Tom, do you want to read this one out?
Yeah, sure. Couldn't have painted, I won't do it in his Welsh accent, a more exciting finish to the hashtag F1 Esports Series. A volcano meets a tornado today on the F1 game.
You're a big fan of George?
George is great. He's a good commentator, and in the world of F1 Esports and all the different leagues that are out there, Jarno Opmer's been tearing it up in the ORL that he has been competing in, and very exciting. So I know that a lot of people will be watching and getting excited about this, as they should do.
He's probably watching this going, what? Tom Deacon's one of my biggest fans. Anyway, moving on to one of my favourite parts of the show, and also the least favourite part of the show, the Yoyos. We're going to have a recap now of what on earth that is. But it's the end of year awards, which have been coined the Yoyos. First up, the driver's driver. Do we have all the rookie of the year? What have we got? Let's have a look. It's the recap of yesterday. Here we go, rookie of the year. So we went for Danny Moreno, which I think is a fair shout. I didn't really disagree with that one.
Solid choice.
Yeah?
It's the only choice, really. Out of all the rookies, he's the one that's delivered and got points and given his team McLaren a real opportunity to get some of that $750,000 prize pool, with James Baldwin doing very well for DHL fastest laps, but not necessarily getting as many points as Danny Moreno.
Yeah, but no money, unfortunately, for the DHL fastest laps. Here's Nicholas Longuet, who was given Hot Lapper of the Year, and before we went live, Nick Hamilton's like, I disagree with this one. And I said, well, tough. You thought it would probably go to Jarno? Is that what you were arguing?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
I remember the conversation very well, and actually someone's typing it up because that is actually a HR issue now for what went down there.
Driver's Driver of the Year, Jarno Opmer. That was voted by the drivers, as you'd imagine, with the title of that award. And it's pretty fair to say that Jarno deserves it. He's been brilliant this year, Nick. I mean, he's come out the blocks. We knew he was a quick driver from last year, finishing, I think, 5th in the standings. But to come out and be the driver that everyone's looking to beat over the course of the season has been pretty remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the full package at the moment, hasn't he? He's got race pace, he's got quali pace, and he's got race craft as well as strategy and using his tyres and looking after his tyres in the right way. He's got everything. So, yeah, I think he's definitely set the benchmark this year, and he's the one to beat for maybe next year as well.
Now, we did some recaps of the Yoyos. We also have another one. We have another Yoya. It's the overtake of the year. And in third position, we have David Tanitsa, where he overtakes Mr. Nicholas Longuet at Hanoi. So let's take a look at that one. This was big, wasn't it, Nick? This was last lap of the race, early part in the season, and these two were looking like they were going to be right at the top of the Drivers' Championship, fighting for the crown. Yeah,
there was so much at stake, so much on the line here, and they were side by side, weren't they, for the next little left kink, and then the right-hander that you got coming up now, and Tonitsa staying right on the inside, and Longuet nearly hitting the wall on the outside, but this is what gave Tonitsa the win, and started his comeback, I would say, after not the greatest of starts at Bahrain.
And Nicholas Longuet featuring again. This is where we coined the phrase Nicholas Longway. Round the outside, Brendan Lee had fresher tyres, but this is just a brilliant move, side by side at Zandvoort, all the way through pretty much the first sector there, into the middle sector actually now, I think, but that's just brilliant stuff, isn't it, Tom?
Yeah, it's like it's a game of chicken. I'm just watching that, just thinking to myself, it's wheel-to-wheel racing, which we absolutely love, and fair play to Nicholas Longuet.
And this was another bit of wheel-to-wheel racing. Daniel Beresney may look back at this season and wish it'd be a little bit further up the Drivers' Championship standings, but this was sensational. Side by side with Marcel Kiefer into the bus stop chicane, final lap of the race, and made it stick. And in fact, I think about maybe 30 seconds before this happened, I'd said, Red Bull 1-2, masterclass, they've got this in the bag. So standard me, just doing my jinxing.
Yeah, I think Danny Beresny, when he looks back at the season, could he have sent it more at certain times? But we see from that clip how good he is of a driver, and yeah, I think he might be kicking himself at moments of this season, but all in all, it comes down to this last race, anything could happen.
Love the segue. It's time to get into the qualification for our final race of the season at the fabulous Interlagos in Brazil. But before we head there, here's Pierre Gasly, Grand Prix winner, to talk us through the track.
Hi guys, it's Pierre Gasly from Scuderia AlphaTauri in Brazil, the place where I got my first podium 12 months ago. Interlagos is a really historical track and technical. Let's go on board. So here we go in Brazil. Main straight coming into the first braking, first medium speed chicane, false gear. Really important to get a strong exit from there. Coming into the second DRS zone, which is a good opportunity to overtake there in turn 4 during the race. Strong brake again, quite high speed, 5th gear corner, can use a lot of curve on the outside. Best corner of the track, really high speed double right-hander. You know, it gets quite technical, quite slow, tricky braking there. And then, yeah, really long left corner where the traction gets quite tricky there. Then airplane, right airplane coming towards the end of the lap, flat out, long left hander for the last left before the main straight. A lot of curb on the outside, try to get a strong exit. And then final straight, where I had a quite exciting finish last year with Lewis coming to the finish line.
And there, Mr. Pierre Gasly.
I'm applauding that. I'm applauding.
I was being
Pierre
questioned
Gasly.
why I laughed. It's because the 2020 season has been so crazy that I didn't expect to say Pierre Gasly Grand Prix winner. But here we are. This is also the driver lineup for the final race of the season. Nick, not much to look at on this first page. Pretty standard stuff. But as we take a look at the second page, a couple of changes. Sally Sautonk back for Williams, which is an interesting choice. He'll definitely be looking to finish the season on a high. He was one of the drivers back in when we first started. He was really strong, really quick, but hasn't really ever been able to translate that into great performances.
Yeah, he said they were struggling with team car setup. So hopefully he's had the time to rectify that and finish the year on a high.
Yeah, fingers crossed for Sally. And as you can see, qualifying for the final race of the season is underway. I can't believe I'm saying that.
I'm emotional. I'm emotional. I'm a little bit sad about it.
I've really enjoyed these shows, genuinely.
Yeah, no, I genuinely have as well. I think we all have. It's been fun. And to watch this qualification, I think with the Williams team bringing in Sally Sautonk, a previous Grand Prix winner.
Yeah, not to forget.
And therefore bringing a bit of experience in, because as I said, mentioned again, you're looking at AlphaTauri, Williams, Haas, Racing Point. The money, as you go further down from those 10 teams, drops off significantly. So they're going to have to do everything they possibly can to help their team out, get some of the moolah.
Do you have the moolah to hand?
I have no moolah. That's why I am absolutely...
Do you have the 750k on you? Do you have the bag?
No, I have everyone's bank transfer, backs details, and I will send it to them.
OK, so Mr. Moneybags, Tom Deacon. Right, so 14 minutes and 5 seconds remaining, but as always, if you're new to the quali show and you've never seen this before, David Tunitsa is not on the intermediates because it's the fastest way around the track. It's because he's just making sure that everything works. The accelerator, the brakes, the steering wheel, the gears.
Some say they're the most vital part. I disagree, but no, I'm joking.
Popping some rubber down on the track.
Sure, letting some cool air go through your visor.
He's just helping everyone out, having a little drift. We haven't seen any embarrassing moments where they've been doing this and then lost the car and DNF'd out of quali. That would be a little bit embarrassing, wouldn't it, Nick?
Yes, I'm actually looking at this and I'm thinking, what is he actually benefiting from?
He's showing off.
Doing this, going out on intermediates. I don't think it will be just in case things don't work or just checking that everything's okay, because...
He's the only one out there as well, isn't he? We've seen more people go out before on inters, but... OK, so everyone else, I've just been told, has already been out on the intermediates, and David Tunitsa is going, no.
This is a question I'd like to ask the drivers.
Yeah.
Because we don't actually know.
Yeah, what? We don't see it in real life Formula 1, do we?
No. You're not gonna learn anything about car setup on those tyres.
Absolutely
so
not.
They're not trying to make any final adjustments.
Is it to get rid of a few of the nerves? Sort of like when you have to send it in certain corners, you're just getting a little practice time to get out there on the track and just settle yourself.
I know the answers to most things in F1 Esports. This is not one of them.
That was more of a kind of like, hey, I'm putting that question out there. What does everyone think?
If you're a driver, just let us know why they're on intermediates on a dry track.
Chilled vibes.
From what I've been told, it's putting the rubber down on the track, so maybe it just speeds it up a little bit and it's a bit more enjoyable for all of the drivers out there as they now go on to the soft compounder tyre. Daniele Haddad, what a performance he had yesterday. It was brilliant to see him right at the front at Suzuka. Didn't have as great a race in the next one, but Mexico didn't particularly work. It was so close in qualifying, but for Suzuka, Daniele Haddad, very impressive.
Yeah, completely. And as I said yesterday, he wears his heart on his sleeve. You can see when he's unhappy. He's pretty hard on himself. I think at the time he was like 9th wasn't he, going into Q3
Yes.
and then found a load of time, put himself P3 for Suzuka and stayed there. He drove really, really well, and he stayed with the front two, which was no slouch, obviously, at all. So yeah, I think it would have been a great feeling for him. It shows himself that he can do it. He can run with the top guys, but trying to stay consistent is the toughest part. But yeah, we're right on board with him now for his first lap, and let's see how this goes.
Haddad clearly is a big fan of the quali show, because otherwise we'd be just watching nothing. So he's giving us some entertainment, is Daniele Haddad. Very passionate, he just loves his esports. He messaged me, he said, "Thanks, Matt, for all the kind words." And I was like, "No worries, mate. Just keep being at the front."
Yeah.
And it continues. But
he's very grateful, and I think all the drivers are. Everyone watching right now, they're so grateful for that sort of opportunity to prove what they can do, and they are so frustrated when they don't
deliver.
When they don't deliver, and or something goes wrong, and they feel like Cedric Tomé. Is devastated this year. He posted a tweet and saying, like, it just hasn't been my year.
Yeah, I saw that.
And you're like, you feel for these drivers. So you know what? Today, Interlagos, this is the last race of 2020. Go out there. Don't just let that pressure go, and just try and show what you know you can deliver. And someone like Lucas Blakely, the teammate of Daniele Haddad that we're watching right now, can he finally show a bit of that form that he had from the Pro Exhibition?
Hopefully. Poor Lucas, I feel like he's got himself into a little bit of a rut at the moment, where he was so full of confidence after the Pro Exhibitions. Of course, it was on the previous game, but still, you ride that momentum, don't you? And it's kind of been a bit of a wake-up call for Lucas into this Pro Series. Perhaps some of the drivers didn't put in as much prep as Lucas. That's just something also to take into account with these Pro Exhibition races we had during lockdown. But here is Daniele Haddad, 2.2 seconds up. He definitely got out of that previous lap time. We're looking, Nick, at around low 1:06s, maybe a high 1:05 for pole, would you say?
Yeah, I'm going to go with it and say a 5.8.
5.8, that's it. That's the Nick prediction.
Come in.
Nick predicts.
I just wanted to mention that Haddad actually took 2 laps, or
He did,
one
yeah.
lap to really get those tyres into the operating window. It wasn't just an out lap and straight away on a hot lap.
Yeah, I think he actually ran a
lap.
little bit wide through this corner right now. Just on the exit of here, he got a little bit squirmy, and you have to be careful of track limits there. So I feel like he just got out of it and went for another one, which is interesting, Nick, because these tyres are going to be in the best operating window on that first lap. So Haddad with a 1:06.3. I've got my thing here, yeah, 3.74. With how short this track is, and we're already expecting high 1:05s, maybe low 1:06s, that could be a bit of pressure for Daniele. So he'll go out again, I am certain.
The thing I saw actually in practice was that degradation is quite low here. So it looks like drivers can get potentially 2 laps out of one set of tyres. So if they take a bit of life out of the tyre on their first lap and it doesn't actually go well, you know, they can still get a good banker in on their second lap.
As long as they have enough energy as well. That's another thing to keep in mind as well. So that is Biancalina going into turn 1.
And what's been really interesting, especially Suzuka and Mexico City, there is nothing to separate these drivers. If you are not setting the thousandths off from the person in front of you, you're not going to make it through to Q2. And I think that pressure builds on the drivers, and we'll see them trying to make as many advantageous manoeuvres as they possibly can, but then they don't want to exceed track limits. So it's finding that balance that we will see.
It's so much mental pressure on these drivers, because I think that is the most frustrating thing for the likes of Cedric Tomé, for example. I guarantee that they've probably got within a tenth of every single lap time that's been set in this quali show at some point. But it's all about actually delivering and being able to do it within these 18 minutes, 15 minutes, 12 minutes of these 3 quali sessions on the night, or afternoon, I guess.
And you've got the team manager saying to you, do your best.
And go quicker.
Yes, please. And that gets inside your head. And someone like Jarno Opmeer just knows that they're fully confident, that the whole season's gone really well.
Speaking of Jarno.
Exactly, as if by magic that happened. But he knows what he's capable of. He doesn't have to prove it, whereas some drivers that we're watching now feel like they have to do above and beyond to prove themselves. And that's a different mind space to be in.
Absolutely. So here comes Otmar to the line. What's he going to set? It's a 1 minute 6.165, which should see him quite safely through. His teammate Berezne 7,000 slower. Longue goes quickest with a 1 minute 6 flat. That's more like it in terms of ultimate pace. I think Pole is definitely going to be in the 1 minute 5s as we ramp up the track towards the end of Q3. Here's Brendan Lee. He's had a mediocre lap. He's coming over for a 1 minute 11. So typical Brendan Lee fashion, doesn't like to get in a banker early, does he?
Yeah, it might be interesting to see whether he was on a lap that he made a mistake on, or it was just another preparation.
Let's have a look. You know what? 16.3 in the first sector, quick. Middle sector, he made a mistake. So there you go.
Okay.
So Brendan Lee, clearly very much on the edge, isn't he, Brendan?
Always.
He's got the pace.
It wouldn't.
At times, maybe overdriving, and that's where he's not getting the lap.
He's on the limit, isn't he? And if it goes wrong, it costs him a lap. But I think that's a good trait. It's almost like I think Kimi Räikkönen. I find him almost like a win it or bin it type of character. He's always on the limit, or it doesn't go well for him.
Win it or bin it, always on the limit. I love that.
Yeah.
There you go. Get that feature.
I think that's a good trait to have. Shows you're trying to get the best out of the car.
Love that.
At all times.
It wouldn't be quite right if we didn't have the webcam on Brendan Lee right now, where he's constantly checking over his shoulder as he's constantly watching and driving.
It's got like a 140-inch widescreen. He's literally looking over there to see who's
He actually tweeted me the screen.
Oh, did he?
And if you want to get it, this is where you get it from, Nick.
That is Brendan Lee all over. I can't help you with it, but here you go.
Love that. So we've got just over 5 minutes remaining in Q1, and it's Longue, Lee, Kiefer, your top three. So Brendan Lee has popped in a very competitive lap time up in P2, and that should see him safely through. Where is Otmar? Yeah, P4, Berezne P7. So in terms of the drivers looking a little bit at risk at the moment, of course the slowest 5 don't make it through out of Q1. We've got Weigang, Sautunk, Blakely, Biancalila and Tome. I guess Weigang, he has shown glimpses of pace this year, so he'd be very disappointed to go out in Q1.
He's P11 in the championship, actually. So he's had some good performances. He's got some good points as well. So yeah, to see him down there isn't a good thing. You will be very unhappy with that, won't you, Tom?
I will, guys. It is time to get out the Haas drum, which I do like to, tickle now and again. Just a couple of notes. I would be very disappointed if I was Simon Weigang at the moment, because they need to try and get some points on this board. They don't want to finish last again, because when you go into 2021 for the F1 Esports Pro Series, you want to show that your team is making a progression forwards. And one way of doing that for Haas, sure, they can't win the team championship, they can't win the drivers' championship, but what they can do is show that they're going in the right direction.
Absolutely. DHL Fastest Lap Award, by the way, for people that have been following it, is between Baldwin and Tourmala. They both have 2 each. So if Tourmala gets fastest lap, then he will take the award. If neither of them get fastest lap, Baldwin will take the award.
Why?
Don't ask me. T's and C's. Probably he was probably the first person to get to 2, or it's alphabetical. One or the other, but probably the first one. So let's go. 3 minutes 14 remaining. And Weigang, Sautunk, Biancalila, Blakely and Tome really under pressure. And well, you look at that, Tome is on a 106.379 and the fastest is a 106.0. So 0.3 separating first and 16th, which I would expect from these drivers around here, such a short track. Daniele Haddad, he is trying to improve out there. Let's have a look, 2 seconds down. So he is not on a flyer at the moment. He'll have to be quick. He'll have enough time to come into the pits and change his tyres and go for one more run, and that looks like exactly what he's doing. But
deep breaths now. Daniele, deep breaths, calm down, get the tyres changed and get back out there.
Team radio from Marcel Kiefer, who's currently running in P3 in this Q1 session.
My hands are shaking, man. It feels like they're falling asleep. Nerves are high, I think.
So Marcel Kiefer, hands are shaking. I mean,
They've fallen asleep. Hands have fallen asleep.
Of all the times to start getting nervous, it's when Red Bull are almost home and dry and yet Marcel maybe a little bit nervous trying to get this over the line.
And maybe he needs a can of Red Bull to...
No.
If he's got the shakes, yeah.
No more shakes.
I don't think he needs any more energy, Marcel, but he's shaking and he's P3, so clearly the nerves aren't hindering him just yet.
And that's Marcel Kiefer. I mean, who's in the championship, he's third in the Drivers' Championship. If Marcel Kiefer's nervous, imagine what's going through the mind of Sally Saltong, Manuel Biancolila right down at the bottom, who are trying to do this. If Marcel's nervous, I dread to think what they're feeling.
They've got a lot to prove. If we're imagining nerves, I want to imagine what Jarno Opmeer is feeling like right now. He's never won a driver's title. He's trying to get Alfa Romeo P1 in the Teams Championship as well, of course hunting in that one, and yet defending in the Drivers' Championship. What a weird situation for Jarno Opmeer to be in.
Yeah, it's new territory for him, but I think he's been taking it all in his stride. I don't think he's really put a foot wrong all year. He hasn't made any silly mistakes, he hasn't hit anybody or, locked up and spun or anything like that. He's really used his head. Sometimes he's struggled in race pace every now and then, but it's very few and far between.
Yeah.
And if you can't see David Tenitza, you can't see David Tenitza for that incident.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one.
That's the only one. But you say that Jarno Opmeer's not won anything. Obviously, this 2020, we don't even begin to talk about how difficult and challenging it is worldwide for everybody. But the team racing leagues that have gone on to keep these drivers sharp, he actually won a competition, which good old George Morgan was commentating on. We mentioned him earlier on. And so Jarno Opmeer knows what it's like to win. So actually, I think he is in a more confident place this year.
He's won, yeah, sure, he's won other things that he's taken part in. He's not won the F1 Esports Pro Series.
I agree with that, man.
And huge amounts of eyeballs are on, especially this quali show.
Danny Berezne, P1.
Danny Berezne, P1, as you say, Nick. That's a big statement. That's a huge statement of intent, in fact. Alfa Romeo 1-2 in Q1. You've got Kiefer in 9th. Where is Freddie Rasmussen? P11. Sally Saltuck improves to P12. Saltunk, not Saltuck. Here's Bono Huis, P16. The end of the season. Let me off. He's driving towards the line now. How's he doing? He's improved in both the first and the second sectors. Where does Bono Huis end up on the timing sheets? It's P14, still at risk. We have drivers out there setting lap times at the moment. Caraton's gone up to P3. Look how close it is between first and fifth position. That's 500ths of a second. That's absolutely ridiculous. That's what I'm talking. Oh, I am ecstatic, Nick. That's exceeded my expectations. Who is at risk? Blakely, Moreno, our Rookie of the Year. Cedric Tomé, Biancalila is out. He's 18th. 106.3 is not good enough. Cedric Tomé and Simon Weigang. We have Bono Huis here, still trying to improve. He just set a lap time. Nick mentioned earlier that the tyres may stay in for a second lap. Does he have enough battery? Can he push? And as the Racing Point gets out of the way, Cedric Tomé, 14th. No, Danny Moreno now displaces him. Just into Q2 at the moment. Can Bono Huis improve? He is not. He's 3/10 down. It's going to be curtains for Bono Huis in Q1.
That's very disappointing for him and the Mercedes team, knowing that
Weigang out as well. So Weigang's just gone over the line, P16.
Cedric Tomé still in there for the battle for bottom, as Lucas Blakely and Daniele Haddad still got a chance to get into Q2, because the battle for bottom in the Team Championship is hotting up now, Matt.
The battle for bottom. That's certainly something. So the bottom five, Weigang, Huis, Haddad, Blakely, Biancalila. We've got a couple of scalps there, Nick, that we did not expect. But then at the same time, maybe thought we'd have around such a short track.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I was saying, where qualifying is crucial, and it's only half a tenth that you could lose, and it could really cost you getting out of Q1. Look at Danny Haddad, this is what I was saying. It really matters to him, doesn't it?
What a difference a day makes, eh?
Yeah.
We've been praising him, a fantastic performance at Suzuka. We come to Brazil, 18th.
And he knows the thoughts are going through Daniele. I actually don't want to watch Daniele Haddad right now. I want to move on, because you know how frustrated he is, and Biancolila there as well.
Yeah.
But for me, with Daniele Haddad, that pressure, that constant going into it, had a great day at Suzuka, so he knows what he can do. Mexico was great again, but in the actual race, it didn't go well for him. And then that real frustration.
Biancalila, P20, last on the grid with a 106.305. He is less than 3/10 off the fastest in the session, and he is starting last. That, if you ever needed evidence of how close this F1 Esports Pro Series is just ridiculous. That is hard to swallow, isn't it?
Yeah, and this is the thing with the championship, because as you said, with Haddad, he was P3 yesterday. He's now, P18 today, and that's just the talent that we have, and how consistent every driver is, and why it's so important to be on the top of your game. And then you take your hats off to the likes of Rasmussen and Otmir, because they're always there, aren't they? Every race, they're always at the top, and really mixing it up.
The consistency is just second to none, isn't it, with those guys? So we just saw Danny Moreno before we cut back to us, where P14 in Q1, we've called him Rookie of the Year, big pressure. It's a big award, the Yoyo. The Yoyo! The ale. But Danny Moreno, P14 in Q1, he's definitely going to have to step up his game moving into Q2.
Yeah, but he's done enough. It's like you're into Q2 now, reset, go again. As long as you make it into Q2, it doesn't matter. You can pull out some other strategy potentially to get into Q3.
Let's take a look at the eliminated drivers from Q1. And there you have it, Simon Weigang, Bono Huis, Daniele Haddad, Lucas Blakely and Manuel Biancalila. It's going to be a huge job for them to get anywhere near the points around a track that is just so hotly contested and the pace is so close, Nick. Yeah,
it's going to be really difficult, isn't it? It's a shame for Lucas Blakely. I don't feel like he's had the best of years, struggled with his qualifying pace, but we know he's got what it takes. Just hopefully it doesn't take the wind out of his sails too much, and he can continue moving forward for next year.
As we say goodbye to Mr. Tom Deacon, we say hello to my commentary partner, Mr. Alex Jakes. Come in, come on.
Here we go, guys, for the last time this year.
So do you want to tell the story or do I want to tell the story?
Go on.
Me?
Go on.
OK.
You treat yourself.
So obviously yesterday we had Christmas jumpers on, didn't we? Today we don't.
No.
We were told we weren't wearing Christmas jumpers.
Were we
today.
told?
Yep.
Were we?
You just didn't read.
I didn't read it.
And he comes in, Christmas jumper. He's ready to go again.
So where'd you get your shirt from?
Yeah, well...
He's not going to wear that in the official race later tonight, is he?
Yeah. I mean, basically, guys, wanted to spread a bit of festive cheer. I mean, we kept the tree, we've got the crackers, we've got the tinsel, but no Christmas jumpers. Why would we have Christmas jumpers closer to Christmas? I mean, that would make sense. Anyway, I learned my lesson. Read what your producer tells you.
Yeah, it is a questionable thing that we're not wearing Christmas jumpers.
Doesn't make any sense.
Are you wearing Christmas socks?
They're funky, but they're not Christmas themed, Matt.
How funky? What was
I've only
that?
embarrassed
Okay.
myself once today.
Hello.
So far.
We haven't even got to the race this evening yet, have we? Commentary.
It could be anything.
So we just saw Q1.
We did.
A few scalps.
Yes.
In the final race of the season, Simon Weigang being one of them.
Yes.
It's going to be a difficult one to get any points around such a difficult track like Brazil.
Yeah, short track, DRS train, difficult to get past, even if you do, very easy to be repassed. It's a tough one, isn't it? The margin round here, we knew it was going to be exciting, but it is frankly ridiculous out there. One lock-up from going out.
Yeah,
And
less than 3/10 the entire field.
That
The entire field.
Yeah, that is just absolutely wild.
Mind-boggling. So Q2 is underway and we have some lap times coming on the board thick and fast straight at the start of the session. Otmir is about to give us the first benchmark. It was an Alfa Romeo 1-2, Alex, a big statement of intent to Red Bull that, hey, we're still knocking on that door. If you mess up, we're here.
Yeah, they really have nothing to lose from that regard, but they have got one driver who's gonna be thinking. He has to be thinking about that title. I said yesterday, one hand on the trophy, but as Nick has already pointed out earlier in the broadcast, things can come undone in Brazil, so it's not one until they get to that part of the racetrack. I love the fact that they are so close, hundredths of a second from what we saw in Q1. And then it's a case of can anyone deal with Freddie Rasmussen, because he's been the Q3 master, hasn't he? He's been the one turning it up when it's really mattered in Q3, certainly in the second half of the season. So statistically the best qualifier this year. He is the driver that we'll be watching in a couple of minutes' time. But Q2 at the moment, got to get your banker lap in. And we basically got to deliver under pressure. It's been the case all year, but this is such a good track to finish the season at.
Yeah, I'd wonder if, because we've seen in Q2 over the course of this season, some of the drivers going out on a used set of tyres. You know, we've spoken about the tyre deg not being too high around this track, Nick, and it seems as though these 106.2s, they're not the ultimate pace. We've already seen flats, but these bankers aren't that far off the pace. So it kind of gives the drivers of Kiefer, Otmir and Moreno a bit of confidence going into their final runs in Q2.
Yeah, for sure. I think what you're seeing is the degradation not being as high, so when they put the used tyres on, it's actually closer to a newer set than it has been previously throughout the season. So yeah, it's only a 2/10 difference, which is, I would say, half the amount of what we usually see. It's normally 3 to 4 tenths, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's good. It helps people. It helps everybody move forward, and it's always nice to have a delta to work from. So once you've got a good banker lap in, then using that delta throughout your lap, knowing where you are, up or down, etc., can really help a driver make sure that they maximise every part of the lap.
So we just saw James Baldwin go over the line there. He's slotted himself into P9 at the moment, and it's the gaps are so small. I'm seeing him drive to the line. I'm going, hello, 1 minute 4, 1 minute 5. This is going to be a banger. 1 minute 6.3, down in 9th. Like, it's so close that I'm just expecting, oh, Baldwin, here he comes. And P9, I'm sure he'll be happy with that at the moment, but we've still got some quick runs to come. The likes of Longue down in 13th, Sally Saltunk managing to get through to Q2. A lot to prove, Alex, old Sally.
He has got a lot to prove.
Old Sally, I say that like...
Old Sally.
He's part of the furniture. He's been part of it since season 1. He was in Abu Dhabi. So, yeah,
Abu
old
Dhabi.
Sally, even though I'm definitely older than him.
Where were you in Abu Dhabi? You're on the roof of some random building, weren't you, for that one, for end of year 1?
Some random...
It felt like you were on the roof
paddock.
of a random building. Where were
We were literally in the paddock, Alex.
Yeah, on the roof of a random building.
At the end
in
of
the
the
paddock.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, fine.
At the end of the garage.
Finesse that nicely at the end. Well played. Good spin. Good spin. I like
So it
it.
was at the end of the garage, and it was an amazing trip. And that's where we crowned Brendan Lee. It was Brendan Lee versus Fabrizio Donoso Delgado, who I've just been told has had an invalidated lap, which is going to put a bit of pressure on him towards the end of this session. But that was a huge fight that had the Brendan Lee finger wag.
Oh.
That was, that is an iconic moment in esports history.
No, he said.
No.
And
And
it
he
was.
was right.
Yeah,
He was
and he got
bang on.
penalised.
Memories of esports I've accidentally turned this into. Apologies.
Donoso would have slotted into P8 had that not been an invalidated lap. But he continues once more to try and set a valid one. Here's Jarno Otmir. Let's ride on board with him, Nick, and see exactly how close to the edge our champion-elect is.
Yeah, so that was already a
He's gonna get out of that,
slight
surely.
mistake, yeah, on exit. He's straight away backing out of that.
Is that a jinx?
I was really looking forward to Nick talking us through that.
So was I.
I was into it.
Immediately throw it to Jarno. Go on, Jarno, show us something
I was
good.
ready to learn something, you know, and it's all come on.
Let's not push something, Alex. You learning. Maybe we'll get an on board with someone else. Nicholas Longue, perhaps. We're seeing him coming through into the middle sector now, and he needs to put in a good lap time. I say a good lap time. He's already put a 1 minute 6.3, but we've already seen that's not good enough from Q1. So Longue, our hot lapper of the year, needs to improve, Nick.
Yeah, he looks like he's on the limit here, isn't he? Going into the final sector here at Interlagos, the flat left-hander, and make sure you get it
4/10
stopped.
up.
Yeah, look, he's doing a really good job, and it's all about exit here, and then minimising your steering angle all the way through this left kink.
This could
And
be
you
a
can
first
see
1 minute 5.
They end up going so close to the pit wall to minimise the distance, and where does that take him? Oh, P1.
There it is, our first 1 minute 5 of the day. Danny Beresne just doesn't get into those 1 minute 5s. Slots himself into P2 with a 1 minute 6 flat. Moreno has set the fastest first sector of anybody so far. Here's Freddie Rasmussen. He's not going to be going anywhere with this lap. So he's going to go for another one. Again, highlighting the fact that there is a possibility if you get out of the lap early enough, where you have enough battery to deploy for a second fly. Here's Brendan Lee, another one going for a lap, although it looked like he was weaving around going over the line, which is not the quickest way. Kiefer as well. Lots of mistakes out there, Alex.
Yeah, really are. So Longue, Moreno, Beresne, and Alvaro Caraton slotting into P3 at the moment. Love the fact they're getting 2 laps out of the tyres. Just creates another dramatic element to this qualifying session. And it's good that they get another chance, especially when the margins are ridiculously tight, because we want to see the fastest drivers at the front for this season decider in both the team and the driver championships. Marcel Kiefer, the driver we're looking at the moment. Not long to go now, and we talked about it before we went on air. This is the sort of circuit where you can easily find yourself going out of this part of the session. If that happens to Jarno Otmir, that can then swing the advantage towards Freddie Rasmussen. So we've already heard from Kiefer nerves earlier in the session. I think Jarno Opmeer at this point is going to be feeling pretty nervous.
So Freddie's just slotted into P2. That's a huge lap. And Jarno Opmeer as well, both of them in the 1-minute 5s, separated by 3/100ths of a second. So Rasmussen and Opmeer looking very strong to get through to Q3. Brendan Lee has got in a lap as well, 1-minute 6 flat. That is, I'm looking at this iPad, which I know you're both very envious of. But it is so close out there. I look at every single first sector almost, they're all 16.3. Like, you genuinely just cannot tell until they come over the line. Sally Sautunk, 1-minute 6.2, and that puts him 14th. Wow. I don't understand. This is ridiculous.
Wow, wow, wow. That's incredible stuff, isn't it? And poor Sally Sautunk, he'll be upset because that, you know, may put him out of Q2. And he's a guy. He's very straight and to the point. He doesn't make any excuses, does he? If he says he struggles, he says he struggles. But you know, he's not struggling. That lap is a good lap. A 16.2 is a good lap. He's not far away at all. But it just shows the fine margins that we're working with here.
So you predicted a 1-minute 5.8.
I did.
Alex, what would you have gone for? And be honest, before you were, well, maybe out of Q1, what would you have said?
I think, I honestly,
lap of the season? What are we going to see here?
I mean, that is 1-minute 5.8 at the moment. I mean, it's difficult. It's difficult to know what we're going to get. Truth be told, it is difficult to know how much.
Oh, hold on, here he is. Alex Jake's on the fence, surely not.
Mate, we can all take your approach. You know, we've seen how spicy that can get on Twitter.
I literally have a graphic, so. Tom, you can shut up as well.
Oh, I love it. It's proper Christmas now. It's the Christmas dinner edition. It's all coming out in the wash. No, you're at fault. No, you're to blame. I'm glad we've got Nick here as a professional at the end of the season.
People don't tune in for the quali show for professionalism. Let's be real here. But Nicholas Longay, let's get back to the quali action. 3 minutes and 45 remaining. And I think, yeah, 1-minute 5.8 will probably be a ridiculous lap. I think these guys are very much on the limit. It really does depend if they are one of the last drivers to set a lap. It's all about timing here. But some of these drivers, especially the ones that have managed to use one set of tyres in Q2, will be able to save a set going into Q3.
I'm really intrigued and impressed with Danny Moreno. He's sitting there in, what, P4? Sitting there in P4.
Yeah, it's a great lap.
Which is a good...
We told him to pick it up, didn't we?
Yeah, and yeah, what was he? 14th in Q1. He's really given himself the opportunity to get into Q3, which I think is then it's sort of pressures off a little bit. You know, you got into Q3, you're a rookie, you're going to be starting 10th at worst once you're in Q3. I think it would be great for him to end this season on a high with a great qualifying.
I just look over at you, Alex, and I just see a smirk. I think you're still reliving what we just had over those last 5 minutes, aren't you?
I love this qualifying show. It is the weird cousin of the actual broadcast, and I have really enjoyed it.
And that's exactly what they wanted.
All season long.
It's the highlight of my year, honestly. I love this. It's brilliant. Apart from when Tom Deacon's on the show, but that's fine. Q2.
You've been so nice to him yesterday.
And I have to let it out now. Yeah. Come on.
Season
no, it's been brilliant to have Tom.
We got told to as well. We got told to. It was.
Yeah, it was in the contract.
It's not because we felt.
Be nice to Tom Deacon. But no. In all seriousness, it's been great to have Tom. And hold on, I was going to say it's been great to have you, Alex. It's also been great to have this. Come on, gallery. Oh. Is there a delay? You knew it was coming. It's fine. It was a second delay. 1 minute 58 to go, and that is Jarno Opmeer getting ready to go for another lap. Here, Alex. He's not confident on a 1 minute 5.996, but fair enough. The gaps are so small out there.
Yeah, if you can get to a 105.8, it is going to be good news for you, because that step forward, given how tight it is right now, that could be the difference here. So we'll take a look at the front, we'll take a look in the middle of the screen as well. Danny Beresnay, you've already highlighted it, not the easiest campaign for him, but he wants to play his part for his team at the end. So Longay, Rasmussen, Opmeer, they're feeling good about themselves at the moment. Danny Moreno's taking a step forward. Brendan Lee in the mix as well. Marcel Kiefer. He is the driver that we're going to keep an eye on.
Baldwin up to P4. Sorry, Alex, I just looked at my iPad and saw Baldwin's on a good lap. That's a great lap from James Baldwin.
So that, and no offence to James Baldwin, seems to suggest that we're going to be getting track improvement here towards the end. And Danny Beresne finds his way through to a 105.9. He's up to P3. Danny Moreno we got on board with at the time being then, and he's cranking up for a lap in a few
Kiefer's down in 13th at the moment. Sorry, Alex, he's set one of the fastest first sectors. A lot of pressure on Marcel at the moment. Freddie's got himself safely into Q3, it seems, up in P2. But a lot of pressure on Marcel. Where does Jarno slot in?
So he comes across the line. Jarno Opmeer, does he improve? Yes, he does. Up to P3. That will do for Jarno Opmeer. And back to the pits comes Freddie Rasmussen, having put a 105.9 on the board. Here's the driver who needs the improvement. Marcel Kiefer to the line and goes fastest. Wow. That is a big lap under pressure for the second Red Bull driver in the standings. Brendan Lee comes across and finds himself P2. David Tanitsa, who has been strong around this circuit in the past, finding himself in the drop zone at the moment. Cars absolutely everywhere. In front of him, picks his way through the traffic. Here comes the Ferrari driver to the line. Can he find his way through to the top 10 shootout? Yes, he can. And it's fourth position for David Tanitsa. Heading out then, Caraton, Benito, Donoso, and then Soltong and Cedric Tomei. Danny Moreno needs to finish this lap. We were riding on board with him when he was improving. You can see right now he has dropped out, so he does need to find some time. Nothing left on the clock. McLaren in over the line. Danny Moreno, does he improve? He does to P3.
Hold on,
Q2.
Hold on. 936 for P2, 937 for P3, and a 938 for P4. I'm gonna have a heart attack.
Absolutely. Look at the margin between heading out if you are James Baldwin.
You had to be in a 1 minute 5.9 apart from Tormala.
That is absolutely outrageous. No one managed to make it through to the 105.8, but everyone stuck on a 105.9.
And Baldwin is out by 2 thousandths of a second.
Jay, look at him. He's as stunned as I am. I can't believe what I've just... That was 1/10 of a second between the top 10.
Ridiculous.
Okay.
With 2 championships
Nick,
on the line.
you've been waiting for me to be satisfied in this quality show.
You better be.
I am. There are no complaints from me after watching that. That is truly,
This is
truly
the thing.
remarkable.
You've got drivers like Alvaro Caraton looking upset, looking depressed.
Yeah.
But look how close they are.
Yeah.
You know.
And he's been a pole sitter earlier this year. So, I mean, he's delivered under the pressure and he's missing out, well, he's missing out by hundredths, which in this session, quite a margin.
I'm in complete and utter shock. That was definitely the best qualifying in terms of gap that we've seen, and it tees us up beautifully for the final qualifying session of the year. You literally cannot put your money on someone here because there is such small margins. You've got Brendan Lee up there. He's found something in the car over the last few races. Yeah. Danny Moreno, Rookie of the Year, carrying that Yoyo with pride, isn't he? And that's just brilliant to see. Nicholas Longuet, Hot Lapper of the Year. We have got such a tense qualifying coming up because we could easily see the likes of Beresne and Opmeer 9th and 10th, or 1st and 2nd, and you could swap Rasmussen and Kiefer the other way around. It is all to play for. I love that phrase.
I'm going to say, what is your prediction?
Oh, hello. Ooh. He's put me on it. Brendan Lee, pole position.
Interesting.
You.
I'm going to go for Marcel Kiefer.
Danny Moreno.
Oh, goodness.
Danny Moreno would be...
Why not?
That would really cap a great
Why
season
not?
for
It
him.
would. It would.
He's been taking steps forward all the time, hasn't he?
Yep.
Of course, we'll be going to Q3 and we'll be going full commentator.
Yeah.
I want
yeah.
Big hype.
I'm going to stand up.
Hello.
Yeah.
You've said that now, so we're now expecting
It's gonna
this.
happen. It's gonna happen.
We're going to come out of full screen just to see you standing up commentating. But as I say, it tees it up beautifully, doesn't it? We've still got both championships on the line. The Drivers' Championship is the one that's looking the closest. What's Opmeer got to do to really turn this around? Where does he need to get, Nick?
Well, he just needs to stay consistent, doesn't he? He can't make any mistakes. As we've seen in that session alone, half a tenth, 1/10 is the difference literally between first and P10. So the lap has to be perfect for everyone.
Yeah, and if we ever wanted a teaser for tonight's show as well, I mean, this is just going to be outrageous, isn't it? Let's take a look at the eliminated drivers from Q2. And there you go, Baldwin losing out by thousandths of a second. Caraton, Donoso, Saltunk and Cedric Tomei. Let's put it into perspective, shall we? Nick, you're a racing driver. What is a few thousandths of a second in real life? What would you say?
So they say 4 thousandths of a second is a blink of an eye.
Okay.
So James Baldwin
is less than the blink of an eye.
Less than the blink of an eye away from Q3.
How do you...
That's pretty good. You asked him the question. That's a top.
And he smashed it. He's got the theory.
That ball's still sailing out the park, right?
But in terms of if we were looking at where you lose or gain that amount of time around this Interlagos circuit,
You couldn't.
Where okay, I'll just shut that question down.
No, but I'm saying.
I'm off. Cheers, guys.
What I'm saying is, it could literally be down to an upshift.
Yeah. So in terms of where on this track, though, could be a big moment. Is it through maybe turns 1 and 2? That's a big moment to really gain some time.
Literally, the apex of turn 1 is so important because it sets you up for turn 2 and then turn 3. So if you mess up turn 1, the direction change is going to be a bit of a pain, and then the exit all the way down that long straight isn't going to be as good as it should be.
It's a long game. Here we go then. He's the fastest at the moment. Through the first sector, we've got Otmar, Moreno, Kiefer and Tormula all go through that first sector split, but Longay is the quickest. We're riding on board with him right now. It's great to have the proper graphics that we see in real-life Formula 1. We know exactly what he's doing, what gear he's in, how fast he's going around the corners, and we're going to come up to the middle sector split right now. What is he looking like? It is 49.7, a 33.4. That is pretty good indeed. If my maths and my estimations are correct, this is looking like a 1 minute 5.9.
This is going to be so fascinating. What I love about this, no one can play it safe. You've got to get a lap at the limit here. First time on the board, 105.9. And Matt's celebrating because he's finally got a prediction right in 2020.
It had to happen in the last part of the season, right? Kiefer, 1 minute 6.0. Yoni Tormula, only a 0.3. Danny Moreno, 1 minute 6.0 as well. So these drivers seem to have a couple of fresh sets of tyres available to them in this final shootout, which is crucial. We've seen how big the track evolution is, Nick, and how we saw the likes of Baldwin going up to P4, but then falling out of Q2 right at the death.
Yeah, that's unbelievable, isn't it? It just shows, I think it's that last man over the line, which could be the scenario here, because it looks like that track evolution is so vital, it's so important, and because of the close times we have, that track evolution can literally give you just what you need right at the end.
Yeah, because literally any thousandths, as we've already discussed, helps you. Apparently, 5 or 6 grid positions in this in this final qualifying. Absolutely loved this quali show series. I hope everybody watching along has enjoyed as well. And what a way to finish the season here in Brazil. We didn't get it in real life, and it has been dearly missed. But thank goodness we can get it at least in the virtual world. And what a shootout we've got. The Drivers' Championship, Freddie Rasmussen being the one chasing, 16 points behind Jarno Otmar. He needs to be in the top 3, Alex, to really mount a charge and put the pressure on Otmar.
Yeah, he does indeed. And I tell you what, we had a fantastic virtual Grand Prix, didn't we, around this circuit earlier in the year. We're having a fantastic qualifying session and both titles on the line. It is so nicely set up, but we're going to have a situation where everyone apart from the pole sitter is going to be frustrated with their lap because they're going to know where they were just missing out. If you have a lap like Yoni Tormula, you know, okay, I just didn't hook it up, it didn't work for me, the end. But if you're 5 thousandths of a second away, the drivers will know where it got away from them, and they'll go, upshift there, exit of the corner there, slight hesitation. There's going to be some irritated drivers, and that is another element to the race later on. Freddie Rasmussen up to P3 right now on the opening runs in this crucial Q3 session. Brendan Lee in P2.
Nicely done for Brendan Lee. That'll settle him in for his final shot at taking pole position. Danny Beresne goes P4 with a 1 minute 6.0. There's a lot of flats on the board at the moment. Here's Jarno Otmar on an outlap. Didn't decide to set a lap early. He's letting everybody else pop in a banker. And now here we go. We're going to ride on board, hopefully this time with Jarno Otmar, Nick. So let's try and do what we tried to do earlier in the session.
So turn 1, center S is really important to get that first apex hooked up, and it's all about your exit here. You're going to get straight on the DRS as soon as you can. DRS wide open, you're already looking at your braking point into the next left-hander. Send it in, try and hook it up, and really good so far from Jarno Opmeer. This is a ballsy corner, isn't it? Just turn it in, just chuck it in, and do not run too wide, because you'll miss that second apex and then get it stopped for the first right-hander of this chicane. It then sort of tightens up on exit, so you sort of got to veer off and then get on the brakes, slam on the anchors, turn it in and get a good exit. And now it's all about sending it through the left-hander and using all of the road a little bit on the outside, and then sending it into the last corner, getting on that throttle and making sure you maximize all of the traction you have available. Do not miss an upshift, because this could be the difference between those thousandths of a second. Stay as close to the pit wall as you can. And where does that take Opmeer?
We're at 6-0, only P6. He put the fastest first sector I've seen throughout this qualifying session, Q1, Q2 and Q3, but that middle sector, he lost a 1/10.5 to the fastest that we've had in this qualifying session. So Opmeer, quite a bit to do in this qualifying session. Freddie Rasmussen, though, is actually behind him at the moment, so both of the championship protagonists, 6th and 7th. Nicholas Longay, he's looking to extend his margin out in front, 4 thousandths of a second up on what he's already set, which is a 105.965. Where does he end up? Tormala has set the fastest middle sector of anybody so far. This is anybody's game, Alex.
It is indeed. Over the line goes Nicholas Longay for an improvement on the provisional pole time that he had. Not by much, but it's still...
Yoni Tormala!
Yoni Tormala, you highlighted him, Matt. He has delivered. Provisional pole right now. Remember, track's going to be improving all the time. Marcel Kiefer over the line, 2P2. And look at the gaps now. Enormous, 300ths of a second.
The shaky hands are still providing the lap time for Marcel Kiefer. That's a great lap, and that's huge for Red Bull in the team's championship. Freddie Rasmussen down in P8 in the pits at the moment. There's the man of the moment, Nick. Yoni Tormala, P1.
Yeah, great to see, isn't it? Hey, what an amazing job from Yoni Tormala, getting a great lap in there. What I was just going to say is Jarno Opmeer and Freddie Rasmussen not doing the greatest of jobs, or jobs that we expect them to do. This is
10th slower.
Yeah.
Disgraceful, isn't it?
Yeah, how dare they? But this is Rasmussen's chance, isn't it, to put in a really good lap and put some distance between himself and Opmeer, if that's going to be the case. But let's wait and see. I think it might be time for Alex to do a bit of your stand-up commentary.
Oh, it might be.
Oh, but before that, Tormala looked like he's had a really fresh haircut there, and I think the aerodynamics has helped him take provisional pole at the moment.
He's got rid of the tash. He's got a fresh new lid. I mean,
I know he said he was going to shave after he wins. Maybe he's shaved and got a haircut before he wins.
I see. I see what you've done there.
Teed it up nicely.
So 3 minutes to go. Everyone in the pits. Chance for us to catch our breath. Laurel on the line now. Who's going to deliver? This is going to be such a satisfying pole position for one of the 10 drivers in your screen at the moment. Danny Beresnay heading out, and the tension's just going to build from here on in.
I've just been told that at the speed they're going at across the line, 1,000th of a second is 9 centimetres. Whether that's the actual case, who knows? But I've been told that in my ear, and we're going to take it as gospel.
That works.
Yeah, well, I think
you've got to trust the gallery.
Basically, overall, very close indeed. 9 centimetres is 1,000th, and so James Baldwin missed out by 27 centimetres at that speed. That's less than the ruler. You know, there you go.
I knew you were going to say that.
Well, come on.
He's going to say it's less than a ruler. He's going to say it. He's not going to be able to resist it.
We're so in sync, it's frightening. So Danny Beresnay on an out lap. He has a lot to prove here. He needs to step up for his Alfa Romeo team and stick this on the front row of the grid.
Yeah, he's in the mix, isn't he? Sitting P6, and this lap is very, very important. Where's he going to end up? Alex, take us through this lap.
Right, so Danny Beresnay has decided to go out slightly earlier. We know the track is improving all the time. Saw that at the end of Q2. Now in Q3, he's decided to go for a nice empty part of the racetrack at the time being, but he didn't appear to love those first 2 turns of the racetrack. We saw one Alfa earlier on, all over the curbs, so he's just gone back onto sync with the same plan as everyone else. Right?
Not ideal for Danny, but crucially for him, he got out of it very early. He must have well, I mean, I say must have messed up the centre S, as it probably was 3 centimetres wider than what he wanted. But there you go, that's Danny Berezne out of that lap for now, but he'll still have time to set another one. Here's Freddie Rasmussen down in P8. If Jarno Opmeer improves a huge amount and Freddie Rasmussen doesn't, then that should be, well, for Jarno Opmeer, that will give him a lot of confidence. But for the neutral viewer, we want to see Rasmussen stick it on pole and give us a fight right to the death in this Drivers' Championship.
Looks like he's backed out of that.
Yeah,
as well.
everyone's backing out of the laps, so they're not enjoying themselves down at the centre S for the time being. This one's going to be resolved with the last few laps. Last few seconds of session, last of the season, and everyone's just biding their time. They're toying with us.
I saw when he went through the first sector, he was 3 thousandths down on his first sector. So he probably thought, no, it's a terrible lap.
That's not going to work.
Yeah. Brendan Lee, however, I just saw he is on an improvement. First sector, 16.343. It's not the best we've seen, but it's an improvement on his lap of a 105.994. Let's see through the middle, 68 thousandths up. This is going to be close for pole position, Alex.
Oh, he is really risking it. The turn in there on the grasscrete, trying to get the widest possible angle. He's giving it everything now, tight to the wall, coming over the line. Brendan Lee looking for pole. Brendan Lee takes pole position when it mattered, and he is the first driver to get to the mythical 105.8. Matt, who's troubling him behind?
So Tormula has just invalidated, so I don't think he is going to have a good lap. David Tanitsa, 1.5 tenths up. This is going to put him in the region of the 105.8. All he's got to do now is minimise the distance between now and the start-finish line. There is David Tanitsa down in the bottom left through the gears. Can he take pole position away from Danny Berezne, who has gone fastest? He does!
Super stuff from David Tanitsa. Tanitsa, Berezne. Here's Marcel Kiefer in the Red Bull. Marcel Kiefer looking for pole position. He's got it! They're all improving at the end. Longuet! It's absolutely extraordinary now. Look at the pace they've found. Kiefer able to celebrate for about half a second before the Renault took it away. We called him the hot lapper of the year. That's the reason why. Now, Freddie Rasmussen, one of the championship contenders, needs to find a lap. Can he do so? It's only 8th. For the driver who is looking for pole, here's the championship leader. Jarno Opmeer will go ahead of his rival. He is only 7th. Nicolas Longuet with a brilliant pole position at the end there. What an amazing session.
Wow. Danny Moreno slotting in P4 as well. That was a qualifying session, wasn't it?
Wow, what a end to the season in terms of qualifying. I'm speechless.
Brendan Lee, we were celebrating taking pole, finished 6th in that session. Are you
I feel like we've just shouted about 10 names out, just as they all went over the line.
Grid.
Look at what it means to Marcel Kiefer. Thought he'd done enough, and just taken away for a second there. Great lap from him, but pipped by Longuet. And say goodbye to David Tanitsa. He's already out of the seat.
There's his chair. Tonzilla in the background. There's Opmeer. So really interesting. Obviously, we did mention Brazil, short track. We could easily see a few upsets. Opmeer down in 7th. We would have said that's a big upset.
Yeah.
But Freddie Rasmussen in P9. Tormula splitting the two of them. So for Opmeer, he'll take that. He's got a 16-point lead. Rasmussen has to finish in the top 2 in order for it to at least be a championship fight.
Yeah, he just has to man-mark him now out of that season finale. If he stays ahead, he's the champion. He's done it. And for the first time in his esports career, he is the champion of the series. So that's a huge qualifying session when you think about it, because Rasmussen now needs to get a great start, needs to find his way to P5. In one way, it gives him very little left to lose.
Berezne as well, shout out to him, out-qualifying his teammate Opmeer, but then still only 5th. So there is a lot to play for. Red Bull, of course, have a huge lead in the team's championship, Nick, so they should be able to bodyguard that one out of to pretty much secure that. But the Drivers' Championship, there's so much storyline. How are we going to manage this all? What are Red Bull going to do, do you think?
Well, they just got to, especially Rasmussen, that was his chance, wasn't it, really?
With Opmeer
maximise. Yeah, with Opmeer not doing the job that we're so used to him doing, I feel like he hasn't really made the most of that opportunity, starting P9. But Nicolas Longuet, living up to his Hot Lapper award, hasn't he? Done a fantastic job. I think it's going to be really interesting in terms of the race.
Does he deserve it now, would you say? Can we give Longuet Hot Lapper of the Year, though?
I think he always deserved it.
But there were other people in the mix, weren't there?
There's so many people in the mix. You know, Brendan Lee went across the line and we were all jumping up and down. thinking P1 for Brendan Lee, fantastic. Ended
Yeah.
up, what, P6?
Amazing stuff. Let's take a look at the top 10 classification of that amazing qualifying session. And goodness me, Longuet taking pole position away from Marcel Kiefer at the death. 105.7s in the end. They were huge lap times from the pair of those guys. Tonzilla, Tanitsa in P3. Danny Moreno, Rookie of the Year P4.
Yeah, I reckon Danny Moreno is the performance of qualifying, I would say. He's just getting stronger and stronger, isn't he? P4, a fantastic result.
It's been great to see from Danny Moreno. Daniel Beresne, as we said, P5. Brendan Lee, we thought he'd taken pole, ends up P6. Jarno Otmir, well, he'll be disappointed with that because he wants to try and carry Alfa Romeo to the Teams Championship. But for the drivers, he's looking quite safe. Joni Tormela P8, Freddie Rasmussen P9 and Enzo Benito P10. And we've got a reaction of exactly what happened here with Marcel Kiefer. We saw some great reactions from him yesterday. And let's see exactly what...
So I believe he was saying, yeah, I'm slightly unhappy with that.
I was expecting a bigger reaction, but hey, considering yesterday he was almost crying, I think that was before the grid penalty that he was given. And there's Nicolas Longuet as well. Hot lapper of the year. Unbelievable.
I love Donoso going, you did what time? Unbelievable.
I was out in Q1 with 1,000th of a second. No, it wasn't. But Donoso, it's difficult for him to see that, isn't it, as a teammate, to see Nicolas Longuet, the person he's been side by side with, racing in that Renault hub, to see him perform so well, Nick, and then maybe Donoso not living up to the expectation.
Yeah, because Donoso's been showing some flashes of brilliance, hasn't he? But then just almost fell at the final hurdle. And we've seen a lot of emotion from him, hanging his head, banging his head a couple of times. So, you know, he, as I always say to a lot of about these drivers, they're wearing their heart on their sleeve, shows how much it means to them. But yeah, it's not nice to see your teammate do so well when sometimes you're struggling. But that is motorsport, and I'm sure Donoso is going to come back stronger.
Awesome. OK, next up, ring, ring, we have Mr. Hot Lapper on the phone. Nicolas Longuet, how are you after that qualifying session? Was it as tense for you as it was for us?
Well, hello. I felt really confident actually for Brazil. Managing to pass both Q1 and Q2 on one tire. So it really gave me a chance on Q3, having 3 shots at qualifying for pole. And I think that's what made the difference at the end. But yes, I was very tense at the end, and I was kind of shaking at the straight when trying to finish crossing the line.
So please tell us quickly, Q1, we were discussing why you go out on the intermediate tyres. Obviously, it's not raining. Right. Are you popping a bit of grip down? Are you having a bit of banter trying to see if your wheel works? What is it?
I think it's purely to check if the wheel works. I don't really do it. I don't know. I feel like it messes up with my muscle memory, or like with my, I don't know. Yeah, you know what? Like I feel like I would get used to the Inter's grip on a dry track, which isn't really a good thing to do in my opinion. But I guess if it's to check your wheel, I guess that's fair enough to do. But yeah, there's no grip involved in that. There's no advantage gain.
Well, there you go. My 2 predictions I've got right now. But Nicolas, obviously, we were absolutely on our feet celebrating because every person that went over the line seemed to get provisional pole. Was it the fact of last being over the line with the track evolving? Was that the key for your success?
I mean, I think obviously it helped. I would imagine. Usually, I like to go out a bit early and avoid the traffic. But I don't know. I saw that many people were leaving the pits early, like when I usually do. So I was like, okay, let's just go towards the end. And I managed to burn enough fuel, and I think that both of those factors combined made a difference at the end because we had very similar laps, me and Marcel.
Nicolas, you've had a terrific season this year. You were on the sidelines for a lot of last campaign. How pleased are you that you've been able to show what you can do in this F1 Esports Series?
I'm really happy that I managed to show everyone what I'm capable of. I mean, obviously, last year I didn't really get the chance to do that, but that was, I mean, Freddie and Joni were a beast team, and they clearly brought the championship home. So they were also really fast. And but yeah, I'm really happy with this season, even though there were some hiccups here and there that I need to fix for next year for sure. But I think that'll be my objective for next year for sure. Yeah.
Hey, Nicolas, don't be writing it off yet. We're hyping up both of the championships. They're yet to be wrapped up. We've got anything to happen in Brazil. But one thing I wanted to ask, Nicolas, you've shown some ridiculous pace this year. When you look back at this season, are you going to think, there's a few missed opportunities and that you really could have felt like you could have fought for the driver's title this year?
Yes, I was actually reflecting on it yesterday night. I mean, I feel like the main mistakes are in China, Q2, where I cut the last corner. The lap would have been enough to pass to Q3. That was a major point. Italy as well, which is probably my best track of the calendar. Again, I made a mistake in Q2 and cut the track. And I think those were two biggest mistakes. Also Mexico yesterday. But otherwise, I feel like every other race I've been part of, I felt like I got a decent result. So I'm still pleased with how it went.
Great to hear, Nicholas. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Say hello to Donoso as well, who's just next to you. Give him a little wave. But it's been brilliant to speak to you, Nicholas.
Say hello.
Hi, Fabrizio. But yeah, great to speak to you, Nicholas. And best of luck for this evening for the final race of the season. Oh, and you won a Yoyo. How do you feel about that? Hot Lapper of the Year, you won a Yoyo.
I was not expecting that. That caught me off guard. I mean, usually for these awards, like they tell you beforehand. I don't know. But this time I was watching the live stream.
We don't do these things last minute. Don't worry, Nicholas. But thanks so much for joining us, mate, and best of luck for tonight.
Thank you very much.
Awesome to hear.
What a nice guy.
Yeah, from Nicholas. You can tell he's very upbeat, happy about what generally his performance this year. And I think, to be fair, he has shown that he deserves to be in this series.
Without a doubt. I don't think anyone was doubting that at all. He's really shown he's got that one lap pace when he needs it. And especially in the races now, he's not making those mistakes that he was making initially at the start of the campaign. So he's now really starting to come into his own. And I think it's going to be a really interesting race for him. And why not? He could definitely take it to the win.
For one final time, we're going to take it to our favourite part of the show. Who overperformed, did as expected, and underperformed? Let's go with overperformed first. And Joni Tormula, we thought he'd taken pole position, didn't we? And, well, how wrong we were. But that's why we're talking and not racing. But it was a great performance from Tormula. There you go, fresh cut, love that. And much more like we expect from him, Alex. The start of the season was, what a way to end the season as well.
Yeah, he's got his Christmas haircut in, and he's got a good end to the season as well. Yeah, a little bit of a dip in the middle where you could tell that he was getting slightly frustrated, but a man who, on his day, produces terrific performances, and we've seen it again.
What have you made of Tormula very quickly, Nick, on his performance so far? Well, I say so far, we've got one race left, but overall?
Yeah, I would say up and down. We know Joni Tormula is one of the best. And wasn't at his best, I would say, for a lot of the part of this year. But I think it was great to see him up there today in this qualifying session. So really happy for him and showing the pace that we all know he has.
Absolutely. Now we're going to go to who did as expected, and of course the Yoyo winner, the Hot Lapper of the Year, Nicholas Longuet. I wouldn't say I didn't expect that, if I'm honest. But I feel like that's a little bit of a yeah, not kind of singing his praises for an amazing performance. A little bit over, but somewhere unexpected. Would you say, Alex?
I think for next year this gets renamed. Matt does not agree.
I'm allowed to disagree. I've been told I'm allowed to disagree. But I think Nicholas was a great performance. But as we say, we expect that sort of thing from him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think qualifying pace has been absolutely outstanding. He started the season so strong, and he's finished the season really nicely there. That's a satisfying pole position when it's fine margins and you deliver few underperformances at the end of Q3 there. He did the job, and the fact that we're saying we're expecting that from him tees up his championship challenge next year very nicely indeed.
It does, and there were a couple of underperformances, as Alex mentioned, and we've gone for Freddie Rasmussen, where, yeah, we weren't really expecting him to be so far down the field because he's been so consistent, so ice cold in that cockpit. But finishing P9 in the end with Otmir in 7th, it's going to be interesting. It's not over. Otmir, both of them are in danger territory, aren't they, going to turn 1, Nick?
Yeah, they're right in the mix there, aren't they? So it's going to be really close. They don't want to lose a front wing, but you also don't want to be over cautious because that's when you can get swallowed. And lose a lot of momentum. I just want to say that another overperformer in qualifying was definitely got to be Danny Moreno.
Yeah, you wanted pole from him, though, didn't you?
No, yeah, but it's just because I had belief in him, but also it'd be a fantastic story for him to be pole position.
He's got a great opportunity, hasn't he, P4?
Fantastic job, yeah. So, yeah, really happy for him there.
The final Yoyo now, it's nearly over, is the race performance of the year. There's a few. There was a few that was in the mix for sure, but we've given it to Jarno Opmeer. It was quite possibly it was a scintillating thing to watch, wasn't it? He loves the alternate strategy, as we've mentioned, starting on the mediums, going on the aggressive, on the soft tyres towards the end, and China was just such a great example of that, Nick.
Yeah, it's like he caught everybody off guard.
0% AI, wasn't it? It was just one of those ones.
Everyone was just sitting ducks. It was incredible. Yeah, what a great job. And this is what I mean about Jarno Opmeer. He's got the full package this year. Super strong in qualifying. He's got a great head on him in terms of dealing with that pressure, not making mistakes, and using the strategy to his greatest advantage. And that's why he's been so strong this year. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, totally agree. I think he has been... It's great to watch the driver attack at the end because you can make a mistake and you can blow your opportunity. You've got to make all these passes cleanly. This was him basically announcing that he was going to be a contender all the way through the season. This was early on in the campaign, and this was the one that just underlined, the first couple of events of the year, there've been no fluke. I'm the championship favourite, and he's taken it all the way to the last race of the year with the points lead.
It's been brilliant to watch, and no surprise that he's the driver's driver of the year as well, clearly very respected in the F1 Esports scene. He has to do one more tonight, doesn't he? What's your predictions, Alex? Give me a crazy prediction as what's going to happen this evening, tonight, me and you in the comm box. Are we going to see something crazy?
I'm not sure we're going to see something crazy because, as we've just pointed out, our award winner there is outstanding in the races. Are they going to be able to get through turn one on lap one? That could be defining for the championship. I think if we're going to see any drama, it's going to be there.
And Nick, final thoughts from you?
I think we're going to see a long day race win, and Moreno on the podium is my plan. Or my prediction.
That's your plan. Nick Hamilton's plan.
I'm going to go and tell the people who script this at the back.
Well, there you go. The evening show is coming up at 7:30 this evening. The final one of the season. It has absolutely flown by, hasn't it? Brazil. What a way to end this championship. Both the teams and the drivers are still up for grabs, even though mathematically Red Bull should have the teams. Jarno Opmeer should have the drivers, but it's Brazil. 7th and 9th on the grid. I can't wait. But make sure you tune in 7:30. Tom Deacon will be your host. And we'll see you maybe next year for a qualifying show. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to Alex. Thank you to Nick. It's been amazing to have you on board with this new series. And we'll see you later on this evening. Bye-bye.